A bad onboarding could be killing your app growth. Let me explain to you in 3 simple steps how you can improve your app onboarding in order to increase your download to conversion rate significantly. First of all, an onboarding is all about accelerating the aha moment. What this means is that inside of your app, there's going to be an aha moment. This aha moment can come early, it can come later. And this aha moment is imperative in order to get people to pay and get people to keep paying for your mobile app. The aha moment is typically something or a specific moment in time where the user realizes that, aha, this app is going to be able to solve this problem that I set out to solve, or aha, this app is going to be able to provide this value to me that I want to have provided to me. And this can be different for different types of mobile apps. For example, for a finance app, this can be the first time that you categorize a particular type of expense. For Facebook, for example, this can be the first time that someone adds 3 friends. For one of my apps, which is for quitting nicotine, it will be the first nicotine pouch that they log. And they realize, aha, this app is going to solve this problem for me. And if you're able to get the user to get to this aha moment quicker during the onboarding, that will just make them more inclined to pay when you actually pop up and show them the paywall later on inside of the app. This can be as simple as, for example, giving them a live demo inside of the app on how to use it, what it's used for, and how to get started with the app if there's any setup. And if you can walk them through this, holding their hand almost essentially, then it's going to be much more likely that once they get to an actual paywall or get to an account creation stage, they're going to be much more likely to perform it. For example, if you were to download Duolingo right now, you were to answer some questions inside of Duolingo to personalize the experience, but then pretty straight on, you're taken into your first language lesson. And what this means is that pretty quickly you get to the aha moment, because you get to use the product, you get to see what the value is, and you get to, aha, this is going to be able to help me to learn a language. And if you get to that aha moment as early as possible, it's more likely that the user is going to be converting once they get to the paywall, but more importantly, it's going to be more likely that this user sticks for a longer period of time, i.e. they're a high lifetime value user. So make sure that you get to the aha moment in any way that you can. If you know that you're solving a very niche and specific problem, make sure to highlight inside of your onboarding, and if you can, walk the user through that you're solving this inside of your onboarding as quickly as you can. Now, all of this is going to be available to download in the link down below. I have a whole white paper on how to improve your mobile app onboarding. I also have a full walkthrough and analysis and the entire onboarding of Duolingo, as well as some other apps down below. It's completely free of charge. Check it out inside of the link. Now, step number 2 is to, inside of your onboarding, secure investment through micro commitments. And this sounds like a complex sentence, but it's really not. And you'll notice this in a lot of leading apps if you download them too. But if you take Duolingo, for example, or if you take Cal.ai, which is a calorie tracking AI app, they're going to ask you a lot of questions. It might even feel a little bit intrusive. They're going to ask you what's your gender, they're going to ask you what's your height, Duolingo is going to ask you where you're from, they're going to ask you what your native language is, and odds are here that the vast majority of this is not being used inside of the app. But us humans, we love talking about ourselves. We love when people take interest in us. So therefore, when we have an app that's, for example, asking you, hey, what did you eat yesterday? For this calorie tracking app, for instance, or what's your native language? We're going to be so much more inclined to answer these types of questions. And as we start to answer these questions inside of an app boarding, it's essentially a slippery slope. Once you've answered one, you're going to be more likely to answer the next one, and the next one, and the next one. So you'll notice that a lot of these leading mobile app onboardings are very extensive. They can be up to 30 steps. But you'd think that there'd be relatively high fall off during this long onboarding, but it's quite the contrary. You see, when someone starts an onboarding and they answer a simple question in order to continue with this, they're much more likely to continue answer it. And once they've actually started, you're going to lose some users in the initial part, but the users who've actually started are going to be more likely to complete the whole onboarding, and you're going to end up with a relatively high intent user. What also happens is that the user has invested some time, they've invested some effort, and they've invested some thought into your app. And once you've gone through all of that, and then you get to something like create an account or start a trial or even pay and subscribe, once you get to that stage, they're gonna feel like, I've put a lot of effort, I've put a lot of time, and I put a lot of thought into this already. Why would I be someone who commits all this time and effort to answer this onboarding accurately and go through this onboarding to then later not sign up? I've already been shown that this app is going to be able to help me solve the problem that I'm trying to solve. I've already seen that it provides value to me in some way, and I've obviously been engaged and committed to it. to give this app all of this information that I've already provided it, why would I not then also convert or create an account, for example? Now, you're not going to get everyone, but you're going to be much more likely to get someone who's gone through a long onboarding and put in a lot of information about themselves. You're going to be much more likely to get them to actually create an account or to pay for the actual application than someone who you show 3 slides, basically what the app does in a very basic manner, and then ask to pay. Also, when you ask for a lot of information, that also comes with another value for you as the app developer. Number one, it can be used to collect data on who your target audience is, how they're interacting with the app, and also it can be used to personalize the app. But it also gives the user the feeling of this app is going to be much more personalized for me. If I've answered a bunch of questions and put that into the app, I have the feeling that, okay, this app has taken a lot of information from me and it's obviously going to do something with this information in order to provide me, the user, with a better experience than it otherwise would. And here, this could be a little bit of a smokescreen. You don't necessarily need to provide and personalize this app with all of this information that you've been given as the developer, but you can rather take some of it and then just leave the rest of the questions as is. You don't need to save them, you need to do anything with them, but if the user commits to actually answering them, that's going to be beneficial for their perception of how much you're personalizing the app for this user. And you're going to see this in a lot of apps. They're going to ask you a lot of questions that they're not going to use at all later on. Again, some of the examples that you'll be able to find below are doing exactly this. And another little fun side tip is that once you have taken all this information, do a hard-coded screen that's loading for 6 seconds or 5 seconds or 10 seconds that says, we're setting up your experience, or we're analyzing your answers, or we're preparing the app experience for you. And you don't need to be doing any calculations. This probably takes half a second to set up, but you make it seem as if there's time taken, that there's loading and there's significant thinking behind the scenes of your app in order to set this app experience up for this particular user based on the answers that they provided. And then after this, that's when you show the paywall, because the user will have the perception that they've given you a lot of information and you're using all of this information in order to create the best experience for them. And you are to some degree, but a lot of that is also inside of their head and they're perceiving it as if you're providing a lot more personalized experience than you actually are. Step number 3 is that throughout the onboarding, get to some key retention moments. And key retention moments are actions that the user is going to commit that is going to correlate with them being a high retention user. And a couple of these things are, for example, if the user allows notifications, if they don't complete the paywall or if they don't complete the onboarding, you as the developer will be able to follow up in 2 days and saying, hey, we're missing you. Or for example, in the case of Duolingo again, they have daily notifications that tell the user to, hey, why don't you come back and practice? Or, hey, why you're missing your daily practice today. And once this happens, the user is going to be much more likely to be retained because they're going to be interacting with the app pretty much every single day or with whatever cadence that you choose to provide these notifications. But these types of things are going to help you retain these users in the longer term once they actually get inside of the app. And if you can get to them inside of the onboarding, then that's just fantastic. Some other things that this may include, for example, if you have a widget, like one of these home screen widgets where you can interact with your app from the home screen of the user's device, if you can get the user to set this up during the onboarding, then this is also going to be one of those high retention moments that a user who has the widget installed is probably going to be more likely to be a high value user and be retained than a user who doesn't. And also this adds another step throughout the onboarding, because if you allow notifications and if you add the widget during the onboarding, for example, you're much more likely to start building this for yourself in that you're committing. You're committing to, okay, I'm allowing notifications, I'm allowing this app to contact me in my personal hours about what this app provides, or I'm signing up to have this app's content on my home screen 24/7 whenever I open my phone. When they do this, they are accepting that this app is going to be part of your life, or their life, sorry, and they're going to be much more likely to be willing to convert once you actually get to the end of this onboarding. Another high retention driving moment is actually creating an account. So if you can get the user to, at the very end of the onboarding, create an account so that you can save all this progress and so you can get a hold of their contact information, then that's also a fantastic step to take in the onboarding. Do this to the greatest extent possible. So these are 3 relatively basic steps that can improve your onboarding in your mobile app vastly. There's a lot of case studies on how to do this, and there are some different things that you can do. There are also a couple of valuable mentions to add in here. For example, make it look nice from a UI perspective. Add social validation where you can. For example, say, this app has 10,000 users, or this app has 17 million users who rate this app 4.8 on the App Store, for example. And number 3, don't be afraid to make this onboarding longer than you think it can or should be, because people tend to go through the entire onboarding and you tend to drop the low value users at the very beginning and you tend to save the high value, high intent users for the end. But there's a lot of different ways to do this. There's a couple of examples of the best apps out there down below in the description, so definitely go and check that out. You can get the Duolingo video, 15-minute analysis of Duolingo in and of itself, as well as an entire breakdown of it just for free, so just go check that out. There's also a bunch of other resources for building a great mobile app onboarding there. But with that said, thank you so much for watching this video. If you like this type of content, then feel free to subscribe. It's completely free of charge. If you want to see me analyze a specific type of app or talk about the specific mobile app, then do let me know. And I'll see you in the next one. Peace.